Far beyond the spiral arms of the Milky Way, a vast galactic archive pulsed with endless streams of light ancient data. Drifting like rivers of fire across a cathedral of glass and crystal, the silence was broken when a section of the archive suddenly glowed red. The symbol was unmistakable. Do not approach, and it pointed to a tiny, insignificant blue world called Earth. Alien scholars gathered their voices, trembling. Why would such a primitive rock receive the highest level of interdiction? One whispered, perhaps a mistake, but the system never made mistakes. The archive was older than empires, older than stars itself, and the code was absolute. One alien historian leaned closer, his skin shimmering silver as his eyes reflected the blue orb of Earth. He whispered softly, what danger could hide there? The council chamber shifted. The lights dimmed. The archive replayed an ancient signal, one buried so deep it had not been seen for 1,000 cycles, and across the void at the same moment. Above the sleeping planet, a human astronaut named Daniel Carter floated silently in the International Space Station Earth. Turning beneath him, when his monitor flickered, his breath caught as symbols unknown to human science crawled across the wall. Screen glowing crimson like blood and water. At first he thought it was a solar flare interference, but then the symbols rearranged themselves into words not in alien language but in English's own tongue, and they said, do not approach. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs, his radio buzzed. Ground control demanding to know why the systems were spiking, but he could not speak, because the next line formed itself on the glass in front of his visor. This is a warning from humanity. His chest tightened, his voice cracked out into the empty station. A warning from who? There was no answer, only silence, and the cold hum of machines until the screen flickered. Again from the future, suddenly every light in the ISS went dark, shadows swallowed. He drifted in the hollow, dark, weightless, surrounded only by the slow pulse of the strange message. The idea was impossible, and yet the words would not leave his eyes. Earth had been marked not by outsiders, but by humans themselves, and if that was true, then the galaxy was not afraid of what Earth might become. The galaxy was afraid of what Earth already was, in the cold silence of orbit. Daniel floated frozen in disbelief, his eyes locked on the glowing words etched across his visor from the future. He tried to force breath into his lungs. The ISS rattled with unseen power, as if the station itself had become a transmitter beaming into the void beyond. Jupiter alien eyes watched from a distance ships hidden in the shadows of moons. Listening, trembling. One voice echoed through their command deck. The warning has activated again, after 1,000 cycles. Another voice, deeper and heavier, answered. Then the humans had begun to awaken. Daniel clenched his fists, his training screamed at him to call Houston, to send every log, every reading, but his instincts told him something darker was happening. This was not a glitch, not interference. This was a signal crafted with intent. The symbols shifted again, and now they no longer warned. They revealed, buried deep in the DNA of every living human, was a pattern, a code, invisible to microscopes, but blazing like fire in this alien language. The screen displayed strands of double helix twisting until they unraveled into coordinates. Somewhere beneath Earth's crust, Daniel whispered to himself, no way, this cannot be real. But his mind replayed every lesson of human evolution, every mystery unsolved, the missing links. The sudden bursts of intelligence, perhaps they were not accidents. Perhaps they were locked programs designed by humans from a future cycle. His cum snapped alive. Carter reports status. Why is your power grid offline? Daniel swallowed, his throat dry. I think we just intercepted something, Houston, but I do not think it came from out there. I think it came from us. Silence on the other end, static, a hiss, then the line cut, leaving him alone again as lights returned. Slowly, one by one, in the Galactic Council chamber, far across the stars, alien leaders argued. The archive showed them the same helix pattern, the same coordinates etched into Earth. One elder, whose skin looked like carved stone, growled, you all know what this means. The humans sealed themselves to prevent discovery. They have hidden weapons inside their very blood. A younger alien protested, no, it could be misread and natural. Code, a quirk of biology, but the elder slammed the table so hard cracks spread like lightning across the crystal surface. Fools, this archive never lies, we all remember. The War of Ashes, though we are forbidden to speak of it, the humans ended it with fire and silence, and if they awaken again, no star will be safe. Daniel drifted closer to the module window. Earth glowed below, peaceful clouds swirling like paint. Across an endless ocean, how could this gentle world terrify an entire galaxy? His thoughts cracked when metal groaned from behind a panel, a sound, too. Sharp to deliberate, he turned slowly. His flashlight cutting through shadow, a gloved hand pushed. Outwires snapping free, Daniel froze. Another astronaut, but there should have been no one else. The figure emerged, helmet reflecting blue light, its suit unfamiliar. Sleek to smooth, the visor black as void. Before Daniel could speak, the intruder moved with inhuman speed, grabbing the panel, releasing something small that glimmered like a crystal orb, and then vanishing deeper into the station. Daniel chased weightless muscles, straining, pushing through corridors as alarms screamed behind him. He caught a glimpse of the black visor turn. For a fraction of a second, he saw eyes. Not human, glowing amber like molten metal. Then the figure launched itself through an airlock and was gone, leaving. The orb behind it pulsed once, twice, then expanded. Holograms filling the module around Daniel. He gasped as the projection formed a city, not of Earth, but of something vast, and ancient towers spiraling like bone, reaching into a sky of burning red, and in the center, humans, not alien, not hybrid humans, walking among structures of impossible scale, dressed in armor that shimmered with light itself, their faces calm, their eyes fierce. Daniel whispered, "My God, we have been here before," and the orb answered with a voice mechanical yet warm, "Humanity must never be allowed to forget again." Suddenly, the hologram collapsed, leaving only the quiet hum of fans and Daniel alone, clutching the orb to his chest across the void. Alien commanders watched their feeds, panic in their voices. They are uncovering it too fast. We must decide now: erase the planet before it remembers, or obey the archive and stay away. The silence stretched the galaxy, held its breath in. The depths of the galactic capital, the council chamber, shimmered with impossible architecture. Spires of crystal bending inward like the ribs of a colossus, light cascading across surfaces. They're carved by civilizations older and suns, yet every seat was filled with unease, the air itself heavy with the weight of one subject. Earth's holograms flickered. Above the central dais, the blue sphere, rotating, bathed in warning, read 1,000 voices murmured, yet when the high speaker rose, silence dropped like a blade. Her form tall and translucent, a species of energy given shape, her voice echoed across the chamber. "We stand once again before the question of humanity. The archive has spoken." The warning renewed, and signals are active. One counselor with skin of obsidian and eyes burning like coals leaned forward, trembling hands clutching his robe. "We all know why they were marked forbidden, because they broke the cycle. They defied entropy itself. Do you wish to see that fire consume the stars again?" Another voice rasped from a shadowed corner. "Their weapons were buried, their history erased. Their people reduced to primitives. They are no longer a threat." But the chamber erupted with growls and shouts until the high speaker cut through them with a single gesture. "The archive does not lie," she said. "If they were reduced, it was because they allowed themselves to be reduced. Do you not wonder why every fragment of history was burned? Why every witness silenced? Why the record shows only absence? Not victory, perhaps, because the humans demanded it." One trembling scholar dared to step forward, his hands glowing with streams of data. Revealed a battle long hidden, the war of ashes, fleets of alien armadas descending upon a small blue world, expecting conquest and finding instead annihilation. Their ships cracked apart, not by weapons known, but by something deeper, systems. Unraveling stars trembling under human design, the council hissed, covering their faces with veils, the memory too raw to forbidden. But the data surged forward again, the image of a human figure in white armor standing at the edge of a burning void, their hand lifted not in hate but in warning, and the alien fleets tearing themselves to pieces as if compelled by unseen strings. The counselor cried, "This is why they fear Earth, not because of strength, but because of control." Daniel, unaware of these debates, drifted inside, the Isis's hand gripping the orb that now pulsed like a living heart, its voice whispering. Fragments, memories, half-formed cities carved in stone, starships rising from ocean's faces that looked like his own, but older, wiser eyes that had seen the death of suns. He shook his head, trying to banish them, yet each time He blinked, he saw more. Flashes an ancient human woman shouting orders across a battlefield, fire raining down an alien. Fleet splitting apart without a shot fired. His chest burned, as if his blood itself. Remembered across the ocean on Earth, governments were in chaos. Houston had received fragments of his transmission analysts, tearing at data, discovering symbols and genetic code identical across. Every human nation, politicians whispered, if true, then humanity itself was engineered, not random, not natural, but a design. And if so, then who had designed them? Daniel's orb flickered suddenly, showing him a map not of Earth, not of stars, but of tunnels deep beneath the crust, miles wide, carved by heat. Beyond nuclear, across oceans and continents, hidden cities sleeping. Beneath their feet, he whispered to himself, we are not alone, even here. But his thoughts shattered as his station rattled. The black-suited infiltrator had returned, not alone this time. Two more figures emerging from the dark. Silent as shadows, they moved with alien precision. Daniel clutched the orb and bolted weightless through corridors. Alarms screaming, his breath ragged, a hand grabbed his ankle, pulling him back. He spun, lashing out his boot, connecting with the visor, cracking it, light spilling. Out not blood, not air, but light. The figure hissed in pain, recoiling. Daniel used the moment to slam into an emergency hatch, forcing it closed between them as they pounded from the other side. He floated, shaking, holding the orb tighter his mind. Screaming, who are they and why are they here? At the same moment in the council chamber, debate raged until the high speaker spoke. The archive marked, Earth forbidden, yet our fleet's whisper of sending fire to cleanse it again. But I tell you now, if you strike them, you awaken them. And if they awaken, none of us survives silence again, until one. Elder with skin like glass fractured and spoke trembling, then what do you command? Do we let them rise thee? High speaker turned her gaze to the projection, of Earth glowing red against black space, and her voice rippled like thunder. We do nothing, we wait, we pray that their memory does not return, for if it does, the galaxy will burn again. But even as her words echoed, Daniel on the ISS felt the orb burn brighter, hotter, its voice finally clear. Humanity is already remembering. Daniel floated in the ISS module, clutching the orb as if it were his last breath, his pulse hammering louder than the alarms. Outside his visor, his mind replayed the images. The woman in shining armor, the fleets tearing apart, the fire raining on galaxies, and it felt real to real, as if his own blood had lived those moments before he was born. He tried to force himself to believe it was hallucination, oxygen, stress, radiation, anything but the truth, yet the orb whispered again, not with words, but with feelings. Heavy, like grief, sharp like memory, telling him these were not illusions, they were recollections, fragments locked inside. Every human mind waiting for the right key, and he was holding that key on Earth. Governments reeled, scientists scanning DNA, found patterns too perfect to be chance sequences, repeating in every human being across borders, across races, across time, signals encoded in their blood, like an archive of memory itself. And the public began to whisper, if our memories are false, then who are we? Families stared at each other in disbelief. Fathers seeing flashes of suns and battles that never existed, mothers dreaming of stars collapsing and waking in tears, children drawing cities of light they had never seen but felt familiar. News anchors trembled, speaking of ancient war. Footage leaked from Daniel's transmission showing towers rising from ocean's shadows of fleets burning. People demanded answers. Was Earth truly human, or only a cage for something older? Daniel's voice cracked over radio when Houston finally restored contact. He tried to explain the infiltrators, the orb, the visions, but every time he spoke, the signal jammed. As if something did not want Earth to hear the full truth. In the council chamber, alien leaders argued violently. Some demanded an immediate purge. Others feared the archive too much. A single counselor, shattered by fear, whispered, if they remember who they are, they will not only fight back, they will judge us. Daniel held the orb closer, feeling heat spread through his arms into his veins. Visions crashing harder, cities collapsing, families screaming, human soldiers standing against impossible odds. His own mother's face appearing in armor, eyes, fierce lips. Whispering, "Survive my son," and he gasped, reaching for her, but she dissolved into light. He floated, trembling, whispering to himself. What if none of this life is real? What if our memories are planted to keep us small? The orb pulsed, once more opening. A new image: tunnels beneath Earth, immense caverns glowing with dormant machines. Engines larger than mountains, and inside them, stasis pods filled with sleeping figures, human but not. Human faces, serene weapons fused into their bodies. Daniel shouted into the silence, "Why are you showing me this?" But the orb only replied, "Humanity has forgotten. So it may survive, and now it must choose on Earth the unrest, boiled crowds clashing. In streets, governments collapsing under paranoia, brothers accusing brothers of being spies, memories breaking, part people waking, screaming that they remembered other lives, soldiers who never fought wars recalling battles in orbit, farmers who never left their villages crying over sons exploding in their dreams." Daniel could feel it spreading like a virus, collective memory reawakening. Humans breaking through the fog, aliens watching with terror, unable to intervene. He whispered, "If we were erased then? Who did it?" Why? The answer came not as words, but as a vision. Alien fleets kneeling before a human figure, not in chains, but in reverence. Their heads bowed, their voices pleading for mercy, and the human turned away, eyes filled with sorrow, choosing silence over conquest, erasing memory over domination. Daniel shook his head, tears floating around him. "If we chose to forget, then why is it all coming back?" The orb pulsed. Brighter, brighter, until it lit the entire module's shadows, fleeing into corners, and its final whisper cut into his soul, "Because something has awakened. Them and you are the first across the stars." The alien council felt the tremor, every archive node flashing red, forbidden world activity rising. They looked to the high speaker for command, but her luminous form flickered with something close to fear. She said softly, "They are remembering, and once they remember, they will never forget again." And her words rippled like thunder through the galaxy, while Daniel drifted weightless, staring into the glow of the orb, realizing he was no longer only an astronaut. He was a vessel of memory, a seed of the past cracking open beneath the oceans of Earth. Where no human sonar had ever reached, the crust trembled. As if ancient engines had stirred, Daniel clutched the orb tighter as its voice filled his blood with direction, his vision pulling him away from orbit, down through layers of stone and heat, revealing caverns vast enough to swallow cities' machines, taller than skyscrapers, glowing faint with dormant power walls, carved with symbols identical to the ones in his DNA. He whispered in awe, "They were here all along." The ISS groaned, as if listening to him, its systems failing from the interference, alarms shrieking, but Daniel ignored them, his mind consumed with the images the orb showed him: hidden temples buried under the Sahara, under the Pacific, beneath frozen ice, where sleeping machines waited for a signal. And now the signal had come. On Earth, tremors, split streets, oceans heaved, storms forming. Without warning, governments panicked, calling them natural disasters, but some knew better. They had seen Daniel's leaked transmission. They knew something was stirring far below the surface, and Washington generals argued with scientists, their voices. Trembling satellites caught glimpses of strange light erupting from fault lines, beams of energy invisible to ordinary instruments yet undeniable. The scientists called it an activation sequence, while the generals whispered a darker word: weapon. In the Galactic Council fleets, assembled despite the High Speaker's command, vast armadas of alien warships forming lines around, sold their captains whispering that if humanity woke again, they would strike first or be erased forever. One alien commander barked, "Their history cannot be allowed to repeat. We must destroy the seed before it blooms." His fleet roared forward, engines lighting the void, but even as they advanced, the archive flashed red again: "Do not approach." And entire fleets hesitated, trembling, caught between fear of orders and fear of prophecy. Daniel drifted through the ISS module. As gravity failed, systems shutting down around him, the orb burned so bright it felt alive. He heard voices layered upon voices, a chorus of humans long dead or yet to be whispering, "Awaken us." And then the vision consumed him, a cavern deep beneath The Pacific lit by veins of molten light machines groaning as they powered up walls splitting open to reveal colossal forms human in shape but larger than towers, their bodies' armor fused with living flesh eyes sealed in slumber waiting. Daniel gasped, the words spilling from his lips. Without thought guardians, they are guardians of Earth. His breath ragged as the orb seared his palm. Governments scrambled to hide news, but fragments spread across networks, shaky footage of ocean whirlpools light spearing sky from deserts, massive shapes moving beneath glaciers. Crowds panicked, some prayed, some rioted, some whispered humanity is not what we thought. Daniel whispered to himself, I am not what I thought. Either the orb opening again, showing him not guardians asleep, but guardians waking their eyes, flickering with light as ancient programs stirred, and across the stars alien fleets caught the same signal, their instruments screaming as seismic waves rippled through hyperspace. One commander spat, they are rising, kill them before it is too late. But the eye speaker appeared, her form vast projected across every shipper. Voice thundering, you fools, strike them, and you awaken them further. The only path is silence, but silence was already broken. Daniel's chest heaved as the orb spoke final words into his soul. You have been chosen, not by chance, but by design. You will guide them, and as those words seared into him, the ISS shuttered windows, flashing white, as a colossal surge erupted from Earth itself, a beam piercing the void so bright. It was seen from Jupiter. Alien crews shielded their eyes in horror. One whisper spreading like poison across their fleets, it has begun. The moon hung silent above Earth, its surface pale and scarred by ancient craters, but tonight it became the front line as alien armadas unfolded from hyperspace, their silhouettes blotting, stars like black wings stretching forever. Daniel drifted in the ISS, every nerve screaming, the orb pressed against his chest, burning brighter with each heartbeat, his ears filled with voices past and future whispering, you must decide, and still his human mind resisted. How could one man guide something so immense across the ocean's storms? Raged volcanoes awakened the guardians, stirring deeper into Earth, while governments collapsed under fear and the Council of Fleets captains shouted their weapons. Primed massive cannons glowing with energy that could shatter planets' orders screamed through comes. Strike before they rise, yet hesitation crawled into every hand, for the archive blazed. Again, do not approach, and fear wrapped their hearts. Daniel gasped as the orb ripped his mind outward, his vision hurtling past atmosphere into caverns beneath continents where colossal guardians opened their eyes, glowing white gold, their bodies rising, slow as mountains breathing air for the first time in eons. They did not speak, but their gaze locked on him, though he floated in orbit. His soul tethered to theirs, the orb thundered in his veins, guide them. Daniel, and then his vision shattered into fire. Alien fleets unleashing first strike. Beams tearing through void, smashing into lunar surface craters, exploding dust rising like oceans, whole chunks of rock blasted into space. Humanity's satellites went dark one after another. Panic across Earth. Daniel cried out, no stop, but his voice carried nowhere. The ISS shook its panels, ripping apart, fire spilling into blackness. He spun weightless alarms, screaming, the orb anchoring him as another blast streaked past, missing Earth by breath. The guardians stirred faster, tremors splitting continents, oceans boiling with power. Alien captains screamed, they are activating, finish it before the seed becomes the storm. Fleets converged, their weapons painting the void red. Daniel slammed his fist against the console, his mind torn between revealing truth to Earth, risking total chaos, or keeping silence to shield his people a decision that could shatter destiny. The orb pulsed with searing clarity. Humanity must remember, or humanity will perish. And as he hesitated, the guardians roared. Awake, their voices not sound, but vibration shaking, tectonic plates shattering ice mountains. Their colossal forms rose in projection above Earth. Light constructs visible even to alien eyes, a warning, a promise. Daniel's vision fractured into warships, screaming toward the moon. Cannons primed, guardians stretching their limbs, their armor glittering like dawn. His chest tightened, torn between fear and awe, as the first clash erupted. Beams carving space guardians, lifting hands, channels of energy flowing from Earth itself, catching the fire mid-void, bending it back. Alien ships ripped apart by their own blasts, fleets scattering, Daniel screamed into comes humanity. You are not weak. You are not prey. You are the storm, and the orb fused with. His words transmitting them not just to Houston, but to every corner of Earth, his voice shaking the planet awake while in orbit chaos. Rained ships burning, guardians glowing, the moon breaking under fire, and still the war had only just begun. The moon smoldered, broken into shards as alien fleets regrouped, their commanders screaming through static channels, demanding relentless fire, but hesitation rippled like infection. Their crews, trembling for the guardians, towered above Earth like gods. Of light, their shapes fluid, yet human their eyes. Blazing across space, without ships, without weapons, yet every strike turned back against the attackers. Daniel floated among the wreckage of the ISS, his suit scorched air leaking in tiny hisses. Yet, the orb bound to him kept him alive, his blood burning with voices of the past, one clear word echoing over and over, remember, and he felt it, his mind opening wider memories. Crashing like waves, lives he never lived, wars he never fought, friends he never met, but all of them human, all of them him. Fragments of one species stretched across time itself, his radio. Flickered static, then a voice alien, deep, ancient, we warned. You do not awaken them, his helmet filled with approjection, alien commanders. Their faces carved from fear, glowing amber eyes staring at him, not with hatred, but desperation. They spoke not to conquer, but to plead human. You must silence them. If they rise, the galaxy dies. Daniel trembled, his fist tightening on the orb, his voice raw. What are they? What are we? The alien leaned closer, his translucent skin quivering. They are not weapons. They are evolution. Your kind broke the cycle of stars themselves. While others decay, you adapt, you twist entropy to your will. Your blood holds the pattern of survival itself. You cannot be destroyed, you can only return. Daniel gasped, the words ripping into him. The guardians, not machines, not gods, but reflections of humanity's own potential, asleep because the galaxy begged them to forget. His mind reeled as the alien voice grew frantic. We erased your memory, we burned your history, not to enslave you, but to save ourselves, for when you awaken you change everything and nothing remains. Daniel shouted then, why attack us now? Why murder? Why fear? The alien closed, its eyes trembling because the archive warned, if you rise again the stars will bow or break, and no empire will survive. Daniel's heart pounded, torn between rage and sorrow across Earth. Humanity listened to his broadcast billions. Hearing alien voices confessing truths that shattered their world, people cried out not with terror but with fire, awakening pride burning in their veins. The guardians stretched their luminous hands, their voices rumbling across tectonic plates, the message simple, not words but feeling rise. Daniel's visor fogged with breath, his decision crystallizing. He spoke into every channel, human and alien alike. We will not be erased again. And the orb erupted, light pouring from him. Into orbit, into atmosphere, into Earth's core, awakening, every guardian fully there, eyes snapping open, the ground shaking unpanned. Oceans splitting energy, tearing sky apart. Alien fleets reeled as their systems shut down. Entire dreadnoughts dead in void, captains screaming that nothing worked. Daniel's voice thundered louder than war. The final warning is not for us, it is for you. Do not come here again. Earth is not your conquest. Earth is your reckoning. And as his words spread through the stars, the galaxy realized humanity had returned. The galaxy burned with silence. Fleets that once thundered across stars now drifted. Powerless engines, dead weapons, dark commanders. Ash staring through shattered glass at Earth, glowing brighter than any sun, for the guardians had risen fully, their colossal forms shimmering across the void, their every movement bending physics itself. Oceans on Earth boiled, yet calmed. Mountains split, then healed. Rivers of light flowing through continents as if the planet itself was alive. Daniel floated above the wreckage of the ISS, his suit nearly torn apart, yet the orb pulsed steady against his chest, its voice soft now like a heartbeat, not commanding but guiding. He looked upon the guardians and felt no fear, only recognition. They were not gods, they were not machines, they were echoes of humanity's true self-potential made flesh. left sleeping so that the galaxy could forget, but forgetting was over. Earth thundered with awakening, and humanity stood at the edge of its truth. Across the globe, people wept and roared as fragments of memory fused into their lives, soldiers recalling victories they never fought, children speaking languages never taught, lovers remembering each other across centuries, and for the first time, humanity felt not divided by nation or race, but bound by one truth: they had always been more than they believed. Alien leaders across the void pleaded, voices cracking, their fleets broken, their pride shattered. "Please," one whispered, "spare us, for we cannot stand against you again." Daniel's voice filled the channels. "Raw but steady, this is not conquest. This is memory. We were forced into silence to protect you from our shadow, but now the silence has ended. We do not seek to rule, we seek to endure." The Guardians turned their gaze toward the fleets, not striking, not advancing, only watching, their luminous forms like judges of time itself. The aliens cowered, waiting for fire that never came, and in that stillness, a deeper truth settled. Humanity's weapon was not destruction, but survival. The power to adapt, the power to rise no matter how. Many times they were cut down, and that power terrified the galaxy more than any cannon. Daniel breathed slow, his lungs weak, yet his soul burning. He whispered to himself, "We are not their enemy. We are their reminder." The orb shimmered brighter, fusing into his chest, dissolving until his veins glowed faintly blue, his eyes reflecting light of centuries. His body trembling as visions of countless lives became one. He realized he was no longer only Daniel Carter, astronaut. He was Daniel Carter, humanity. Every choice, every sacrifice, every survival encoded in his blood. He looked at Earth swirling below, peaceful yet infinite, and spoke the words that carried across the stars. "Earth is forbidden not because we are monsters, but because we are eternal. Do not approach, because you cannot cage what cannot die." And his words carved themselves into the archive, glowing crimson for eternity. The alien fleets turned away, broken, humbled, vanishing back into hyperspace, unwilling to test fate again. The Guardians lowered their heads one by one, their light folding into Earth's crust, their bodies sinking into oceans, deserts, mountains, until once more they were hidden but no longer forgotten, their memory alive in every human heartbeat. Daniel drifted, weightless tears floating free as Earth steadied storms, clearing skies, shining blue as if reborn as comes. Filled with human voices, cheering, crying, vowing never to let the truth be buried again, he closed his eyes, whispering to his mother's. A phantom voice, I remembered, and in that whisper was the legacy of humanity. Not dominance, not destruction, but survival, endurance, resilience, the fire that could never be extinguished. The galaxy would whisper the warning forever: do not approach, and yet behind that fear, a truth echoed louder than any star: that humanity had risen once more, and it would rise again until the end of time.